I'm joined by Adam Klasfeld from All Rise News. Adam, you are on location in Nashville, Tennessee, in one of the biggest court cases happening this year, that is the Trump administration against Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who they brought back to the United States only to try and prosecute him over some trumped-up traffic charges, it turns out. And so this case is not going as well as the Trump administration had hoped in court. Can you explain what just happened?
Well, we had what was supposed to be a detention hearing, and this was the first part of what was supposed to be due process for Kilmar Abrego Garcia after they tried to end run that by whisking him away to El Salvador in this terrorism prison, CCOT. And so they had to present the evidence in a court of law. Well, the magistrate judge who was looking at the case found that there were multiple levels of hearsay involved in what they brought to the table. She found that there was authentication issues, and let me tell you, Brian, what a lot of this case is based on. They had testimony by an FBI agent who initiated this investigation on April 28th. That was after the Supreme Court's decision that they had to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia home, facilitate his return. And they start that investigation then. Within less than a month, they have this sealed indictment. Now, what's that on the basis of? Well, it turns out that it's on the basis of cooperating witnesses. Two in particular, one is serving a 30-month sentence, who is accused by the government of being the mastermind of this supposed conspiracy with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And he is getting a break on his sentence. He's getting help with immigration and to cooperate with the government.
So there's every incentive in the world for him to do whatever the government wants him to do in this instance.
Exactly. And another key witness is a close relative who is also in prison, also getting a break from the government on that criminal matter, also getting a break from the government on this immigration matter. And put this into perspective, take a step back here. This is the Trump administration, the same Trump administration saying they're tough on immigration. They want to get the in their words, criminal immigrants out of the country. And here they are cutting deals with two people who are in prison for crimes in order to go after Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who even in their admission is lower in this alleged conspiracy if he's a part of it at all.
Right.
Now, and one more kind of key piece of the puzzle here is that there was so this, again, as I mentioned, started on April 28th. So they're rushing this to an indictment, and this is the first time in court, and it seems to be collapsing. The judge is scrutinizing it, and there's this incredible moment that happened toward the end of the hearing. And the government seemed to see where the wind was blowing. And the person arguing for the government, who's the top prosecutor in all of the Middle District of Tennessee, and he says that if you release him, Judge, ICE is going to detain him anyway, put him in ICE custody, and send him out of the country, remove him, deport him, this time not to El Salvador. And therefore, he's a risk of flight. So we're through the looking glass here, that there are supposed to be two factors during detention hearings that you consider what happens to whether someone should be released. You look at risk of flight, and you look at danger to the community. Here, the risk of flight, one of the risks of flight cited by the government is that the government, a different arm of the government, might deport him. So that's one of the absurdities of it.
I mean, it's just like they are reverse engineering their own justification to be able to say that he's a flight risk in the sense that they themselves are going to send him out of the country. They're like, you can't release him because he's a flight risk And the way he's a flight risk is that we, the government, will make sure that he is sent out of the country. And so therefore, you have to detain him. I mean, is that going to carry water with this judge? I understand that the judge isn't going to be able to tell the Trump administration what it can or can't do in the future. But is that kind of thing, did that seem like it resonated with the judge here?
Mm-hmm. The judge was very skeptical of the arguments throughout. Now, they're also arguing that someone who is supportive of him might try to take a action to whisk him out of the country, and therefore he's a risk of flight that way. But his attorney put it into perspective. His attorney said that this is someone who fought all the way to the Supreme Court
to stay in this country.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, so he fought all this way to stay in the country, and that at the end, he's still fighting very hard, not only in this district now, where I am, the Middle District of Tennessee in Nashville, but he has attorneys in Maryland still fighting his habeas case, trying to find out what the government did, and in fact, trying to hold the government in contempt. They want to put civil fines until they get people on the record to talk about this, trying to get the information of what happened during those months since he was whisked away, sent to this dangerous prison in El Salvador, and in the intervening weeks after the Supreme Court's decision to facilitate his return. The government has not been forthcoming there, and they want some consequences. They want penalties of thousands of dollars every day until they comply with depositions, once they start producing information. In the words of one of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's attorneys, he called this criminal case a house of cards built on these cooperating witnesses.
Right.
And taking even one further step back here, this entire case stems from the reason why I'm in Tennessee now, in Nashville now, is that there was a traffic stop in late 2022. Some of your viewers might have seen the footage of the body cam footage that was sent out by the government. They had noticed there were other people in the car, several other people in the car, and they are now depicting that body cam footage as evidence of a smuggling scheme, that's immigrant smuggling. And interestingly enough, in late 2022, when this happened, he was released. The troopers did not find anything. There was, interestingly enough, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, when she made her a big announcement about the indictment of Mr. Abrego, they had one of the things that she said, she tried to mention uncharged acts like drugs or firearms. He's not charged with those crimes. He's only charged with this alleged smuggling conspiracy. But if you look at the body cam footage closely, and his lawyer pointed it out in court today, they had a drug sniffing dog in the video. The drug sniffing dog found no drugs. He was released. He was cooperative during this entire encounter. So this did not go as the government expected. Now, we didn't get a ruling today, but this is, if the judge rules against the Trump administration, and given what I saw in the court, I would not be surprised if that happened. If you hear, oh, this judge is political, this is a magistrate judge. This wasn't a judge appointed by a Democrat. This wasn't a judge appointed by a Republican. This is someone appointed through a completely apolitical process. And it did not go well for the Trump administration today.
So in other words, all the Trump administration has right now is an incident in 2022 that was so serious, 0 charges stemmed from it at the time, and that while they had drug sniffing dogs right there that would be able to validate any claims of drug smuggling, and the people that they have to prop up this idea that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is some major criminal are 2 people who are already in prison have every incentive in the world to cooperate with the Trump administration, to say whatever they have to say, because we already know that they're going to have reduced sentences in prison and an easier path towards citizenship here. And all the while, we know full well that this is somebody who the Trump administration is humiliated by, because they had to bring him back into the U.S. And so they have every incentive to make sure that he goes back into prison in whatever way they can find. Does that about sum it up?
That's pretty much the shape of it, Brian. It's interesting. I was speaking to a former U.S. attorney, a former federal prosecutor friend of mine, Harry Lippman, about this case, and he has a very interesting essay about Pam Bondi's remarks in this, because I mentioned the kind of stray allegations related to drugs, related to firearms, and she brought up certain allegations about sex abuse. Now, again, all not charged, and
Right.
it comes up during the hearing. And this is why we have due process. This is why we don't whisk people out of the country and dump them in a terrorism prison, so they can answer serious allegations and say, well, what's the source on that? What's the attribution?
Right.
Is it you heard this from someone who heard this from someone? It's very interesting when it came to the sexual abuse allegations part of it. The FBI agent who was testifying said that was based on interviews conducted by another government official. So the entire everything related to that testimony was one part removed.
Right.
And so that was just one thing fresh in my mind today while watching all this. And these were day-long proceedings. It started at the beginning of the day, 10 a.m. here Central Time, and it went through the end of the workday about 5 p.m. And everything that had been thrown at him just was scrutinized, questioned. And we found out the genesis of it. It's, as you just said, Brian, from cooperating witnesses who have every incentive to tell the government what they want to hear after they were humiliated on the global stage and on the national stage.
Right. And so, look, you have a lot of experience in the courtroom. You've been doing this for a very long time. When you see evidence as thin as what the Trump administration is putting forward, in your experience, how does that land with the jury when all you have is evidence that's one step removed, plenty of hearsay evidence, when the charges that are being relitigated here weren't even actually charged at the time, and it's all kind of bolstered on the backs of witnesses who are not trustworthy witnesses to begin with, because of the incentives they have to say whatever they have to say to align themselves with the government's talking points.
Right. Well, we'll see if it even gets to the jury, because, again, one of the craziest things about this case is that if the government loses here, and I'd say there's a good possibility that they'll lose here. We'll see. Anything could happen. The judge didn't indicate it. But if they lose, then this case might be removed from the criminal process by virtue of the government's choice and be put in the immigration process. This seems dystopian. That's something Franz Kafka has dreamed up. So there's that part of it. And I think that another thing, there are things that are familiar and then things that are highly unusual. Now, the government very often gets cooperating witnesses with checkered past.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Right.
Usually you get someone at the bottom of the chain to go to the top of the chain. Here you don't get the two top dogs, allegedly, in this conspiracy to go after the guy who humiliated you and who's the small dog. So there are things that are familiar and things that are very, very strange. And the reason we're here now, and the reason that we're talking about this here, is because we're in a very, very strange place where it seems like we're retrofitting a prosecution to retroactively justify the decision to subvert, to end run the criminal process with this summary expulsion. And that's why we're here now.
Yeah, that was perfectly put. And so let's finish off with this. What are next steps in this case in particular? And if Kilmar Abrego Garcia is successful here in this bid that we're talking about, does that mean that he's kind of off the hook? And then a follow-up to that is, if he is off the hook, then is he good to go? Or do you anticipate that the Trump administration will find some other pretense to be able to nab this guy, which seems to be their ultimate goal?
If he is ordered released by the judge, and if ICE does not detain him and hold him in their custody after that, then he'll answer the allegations the way this process was intended to be, through the normal course. The case will go on. This isn't a motion to dismiss
Okay.
or anything like that. But the reason why it will be an important development is that in this country, when the government wants to take away your freedom, they have to have solid evidence for that, or they should have a solid justification for taking away your liberty. That's what due process is all about. And so it won't make the case go away, but it underlines that value that we're supposed to hold dear, that it's a very that when the government tries to take your liberty away, there needs to be a serious justification for that, and they need to answer for that in court. And that's what today is all about.
Yeah, and I think that's the exact right point, because that's what this has been about from the beginning. I mean, people, the folks on the left who are raising the alarm about this case in particular are not doing it because Kilmar Abrego Garcia is some deity on the left. They are doing it because he represents what the administration more broadly is trying to do, which is to deprive people, whether they're here illegally or not. Everybody has the right, once you're here, to due process, and so that's what this whole fight is about, and that's what we're looking to see overall. One note that I would offer for my audience is Adam is with All Rise News. It is an independent outlet. He got himself over to Nashville, Tennessee, to be able to cover this on the ground so that he could then bring it to us so that we know what's going on here. So one small step that we can all take to support him and to support independent media more broadly is to sign up for his Substack. So I'm going to put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Again, it's All Rise News. Make sure to subscribe and show some support for somebody who is meeting this moment with the urgency that it deserves, and making sure to bring us the news as soon as it breaks so that we're just a little bit better off and a little bit better informed in terms of what's happening. So with that said, again, link is right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Adam, I appreciate you taking the time and giving us some insight into what happened in the courtroom.
I very much appreciate that, Brian. I will add to what you just said. Making the decision to fly a good part of the way across the country to cover a story like this is a leap of faith, in that knowing that folks want the information, that it's useful in their lives, and they value it. And so your point right now about supporting independent media, supporting that work, so I can keep traveling across the country, whether it's Kilmar Abrego Garcia or Hannah Dugan, it means so much. And thank you for spotlighting that. Your point about supporting independent journalism is so important. And I hope that the folks watching this support both of our independent journalism.